So when you come to John Shin's house, you get into his screening room and you put on the helmet. Thank you so much, John. You are the man. May the force be with you. Always. Welcome everybody. Today on the Dane Carter Show, we have a very special guest. I've been trying to link up with you for a little while through some mutual friends.
Yes.
We have Mr. John Shin, the man, the myth, the legend, which I start with a lot, but he is. From this incredible backstory you have to all the stuff that we just talked about off camera, which is fascinating, and I'm super excited to be a part of it. It's going to be incredible.
Thanks.
The most famous book around, in my opinion, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and you're doing some incredible stuff with it.
Yes.
But first, let's go back and kind of tell your backstory, where you're from, what got you to this point, and why this is so important to you to get this out to the world right now.
You know, first of all, I'm really excited right now, more than I may be showing, and it's an early morning for both of us, you know, and I can't tell you how thrilled I am. I'm honored to be on your show today.
Thank you for having us.
Really am. And I think what you're doing every day with your content and your money, your time, your energy, and your vision, and sharing with everyone else what you do to give, you know, real content. I mean, I don't mean to offend anybody out there, but, you know, there are a lot of people who are trying to provide value, but they need the value themselves because
Shady folks
out there. You know, and they haven't done it. And you're really the true coach, I think, giving people guidance. And what's awesome about you too, there's a lot of people you and I know mutually, which is crazy.
Right.
You know, our circle that I've known some people and you've known some, but we've never crossed paths.
Right.
And everyone I talk to speaks so highly of you, and they really do. And it's just it's great we finally connect here today. You know,
I'm super excited.
Yeah. So we. God, where do I start? You know, our family, our parents came from Korea, and a traditional Asian family. And I think there's a lot of Asian American people or children or adults that live this life where mom and dad said, go to college, get a degree, and you know, they give that, and then the parents know how to lay in the guilt trip.
Most.
Right? You know, and saying, do you know how hard we worked? Do you know what we sacrificed for you? You're going to go to college and the parents now live vicariously through their own children.
And their successes.
Exactly, right? And so we had no choice. And I say we, my wife and I, Arlene, we had to go to law school. So we went to law school, we met, and I ended up, you know, working in the DA's office. And the unit I was working was domestic violence. And the unit my wife was working, and she wasn't in the DA's office, but she was working family law. And when we sat there and realized why people fight, why they're beating each other up, whether it's a man beating up a woman or a woman, vice versa, the children and abusing people around them, it's because they're so stressed, and we ask them, well, what? And they don't know how to process that stress, so they take it out on other people.
Lash out.
And I've always heard that people say that money was one of the primary reasons why people get in this state, you know. And so my wife finally said, everyone I talk to, it's about money, 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 and the lack of money, right? It's not like people fight because one person says, you make too much.
You're too rich.
Yeah, knock it off. You know, I want you to stop making money.
Stop providing for this family.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just getting tired of it. This big homes and nice cars and luxury stuff.
I'm over it.
Yeah. You don't see people divorcing over that, right?
That's right.
They because one is not putting their, you know, effort into it, one's not making enough and whatever, and one's spending too much than what the other one's making. And so she says, I want to go out there and educate people about money. I got to learn money so we can teach people about money, because the reason why people don't have it is because we're not taught that stuff. You know, we're taught theories in school and not the real everyday practical stuff.
Of it.
Exactly. You know, I mean, I've learned the pathetic formula. I mean, not the pathetic, it's called the Pythagorean formula, right?
I know what you mean.
Yeah, or y equals mx plus b. Well, why do I gotta learn that when I'm never ever gonna apply those formulas in life? But I would like to own a home one day. Teach me how to buy a house. I'm gonna buy a car one day. Teach me the difference between leasing and buying a car, you know?
That's right.
And so she went off to learn all those things, and that's how she got into the financial industry. But as we got into the financial industry, we started exploring why people didn't have money. It wasn't just the lack of education, but it was also the way they think. Mindset.
Agreed.
And so in 1996, and finally a year later, I ended up working with my wife. And so it was awesome to know that I can be with my wife in the same office, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're just always, have these ideas that we want to share when we're working together. And so in 1996, we had a guy who gave us a book. And his name was Monty Holm. He says, John, you got to read this book, and it's called Think and Grow Rich. And I was like, oh, interesting. What's it about? And he tells me that it's about this guy named Napoleon Hill. He interviewed all the greatest, business moguls and success stories, and I couldn't put it down. I read the entire book, and that's coming from a guy who doesn't like to read, And so I'm like, maybe I have ADD. I don't know. Like I can't sit there and watch a book, read a book when the print's so small, and I just.
I'm the same way. I have it all. I have all the ADDs, super dyslexic. I have everything.
So but I read it. I couldn't put it down, and I loved it. And I told the secretary, my staff, my sales force, everyone had to read the book. And it was the first time we all got on the same page and we thought the same way. And we would turn to some of the stories when we were saying, well, maybe we should just give up and we want to quit. And and then someone said, well, John, what if we're 3 feet from gold? That's right. We're like, oh, what if?
That's right.
So we couldn't give up, and it kept us going a little bit further.
Such a blessing, though.
Right, And then someone had an idea, and they said, no, that's stupid. And someone said, really? Like the Marconi story is stupid? The guy who invented the radio? And,
that's right.
And so we started to go, oh, yeah, that's a great idea, And then all of a sudden, we just started exploding. And then we were so focused on our business. And then later on in life, we decided that we want to do something big. And that's when we produced the movie, Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy, which has had an amazing, amazing viewing. And
it's been incredible. There's such great press around it. It's been really cool to watch.
Yeah, it's been great. And we appreciate everyone, all of you that have been watching the movie and going to the VIP screenings. And we're so grateful. We really are. And I hope that you appreciated the director, Scott Servine, amazing guy. And so after we released the movie, I had a lady who walked up to me and said, John, we would love to have you come and speak at our event, and hear from your perspective, what it took for you to become successful. And I said, oh, I'm honored. And they said, but we don't have a big budget, we just we'd love to have you come in and speak, and we'll cover all your traveling expenses, and we'd like to pay you, we know your time is more valuable and your speaking is worth more, but we only have $10,000. And I said, and so my inside voice went, what?
Yes.
Like 10 grand? Like the inside voice having a conversation with me and saying, dude, we would have done it for free. Let's go, So,
because you want to help at your core.
Yeah, I wasn't looking to get paid, but she offered it. So it's not like when someone's going to offer money, you're going to go, nope, don't want it. Right. Of course I'm going to take it and own it.
Of course.
So, and then if you're watching this video, you're going, oh my God, I should have asked him to do it for free when, But we did it, and then I just really enjoyed speaking in front of everyone, and it's amazing because the greatest, I think, compliment is when someone else comes up to you and says, I would like you to come and speak at my event.
It's the greatest compliment.
Right, right, and so then I was like, sure, and then, and I went, and all of 2018, we did, I think, 44 speaking engagements where we got paid, and it was awesome. And then during that period, I thought, people said, I'd like to buy your book. And I was like, oh, and I didn't have a book. So I'm like, I need to write a book, And I'm like, what do I do? And I was like, well, what better book than to write a modern day version of Think and Grow Rich? And a good friend of mine named Dr. Dennis Kimbrough wrote Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice. And then Lionel Soso wrote Think and Grow Rich, A Latino Choice. And the amazing Sharon Lechter, who's the co-author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and she wrote Outwitting the Devil, and she wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich for Women.
She's amazing.
She's amazing. Phenomenal. I mean, Sharon, gosh, we love you.
We do.
So I was looking for Think and Grow Rich, an Asian choice. And I'm Googling, I'm on Amazon. And of course, Amazon is like the best of suggestive selling, right? Because they go, people who bought this.
Might like this.
Exactly, right? You're like, oh, I like that too. Click, click. And we just love opening up our door, and there's a little package like a little kid on Christmas Day. And we're like, what came in? What did I get? What did I order that just finally got there? And there was no Think and Grow Rich Asian choice. So, I said to my wife, I'm sitting at my breakfast table, and I said to her, I said, honey, I think I'm gonna become the author of Think and Grow Rich, An Asian Choice. And she said, no, someone's got to have written that. I mean, there's 1.5 billion people who are of Asian descent. Someone must have called and wrote that book.
Nope.
And right, and then of course I called the Napoleon Hill Foundation, talked to Don Green, and I asked him why is there no Think and Grow Rich Asian Choice? He says, John, we just haven't found the right person. And I said, Don, I would be honored, you know, and if I could be that person to write Think and Grow Rich, a modern day, an Asian choice. You know, an Asian choice being a choice of the author, an Asian American guy choosing who he wants to interview for the book. So I went off and started writing the book, and you know, we've already sold 10,000 copies in pre-sales.
Awesome.
And the book hasn't even come out, you know, and we're just grateful for all of you who have, you know, purchased the books and you know, assisting me and disseminating the information out to everybody, and that's how we got the book. And so now we're going on a world tour with everything. So
excited for you, and
yeah.
I'm so excited for all the stuff that you're building and creating, because it's not just about you.
Right.
It's about this crazy level of value that you're pushing out to the market. And there's a lot of stuff that we talked about that was not on camera. There's a huge gap in people's financial education.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
And the whole thing with college these days is a little bit broken. So they're not teaching you how to buy a car or lease a car, which makes most sense for you. They're not telling you, should you buy a house, should you buy a condo, or maybe you should buy a duplex, triplex, or fourplex, live in one of the units and rent out the rest. Or how do you use a 401k correctly to maybe buy real estate?
Sure.
Or self-directed.
Self-directed IRAs.
IRA.
Right.
So this is stuff that I never learned. I was raised by a single mom. It was super poor. We had nothing. So I had to learn this stuff as I went. But I didn't understand the value of real estate and why it's so important if you want to build wealth till I was almost 30 years old.
Wow.
But once I did, I went all in. I'm like, this math makes sense to me.
Right.
Now I understand why the wealthiest people in the world have a massive foundation in real estate.
Exactly.
And they have it somewhere else. They have their money making money for them while they sleep in multiple piles.
That's right.
But so many people don't understand that across the country. So I'm super honored to be part of this because I'm an educator. I came from a place where my mom still doesn't have the financial education.
Right.
But I have this obligation deep into my soul to help and to put it out there, because my mom's retirement would have looked very different if she would have put 3.5% down, bought a fourplex in Long Beach where she lives.
Right.
It'd be paid off, and she'd have a $1.7 million asset.
Right.
Instead.
And paying passive residual income, right?
All day.
Exactly.
So for me, it's helping people understand the long play.
That's right.
The long game, and making short-term, really good decisions to make sure that long play makes sense.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
And you've been a big part of that for you and your family in helping others. What part of the book really stands out? So if you were to go and read 2 chapters that you said, look, you can only read 2 chapters of this book, it's probably going to change the way you think.
Right.
And it's probably going to be different for certain people in certain times of their lives, but I love the book.
Right.
I actually got turned on to the book by Rob Dyrdek. He was talking about it somewhere years ago,
right,
and it changed his life. And I'm like, well, he's a great guy. So I'm going to go read it. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And I was hooked, just like you were.
Right.
I listened to the book on a 6-hour bike ride. I listened to the whole book, and then I listened to it every day, so it's stuck.
It's embedded into your subconscious.
Yeah. So my question is, there's 2 chapters that really stand out. I just wanted to know which ones they were for you and why they were so impactful.
Well, so one of the chapters is, you know, when people say, why don't people move? Why don't they actually do something? And, you know, why do people have so many excuses? And one is that people have a disease. That disease is called excusitis.
That's right.
Right? You know, they have these airtight alibis that they have bought, right? And they bought into their BS, as my friend Marissa Pay would say, is people have bought into their. It's not the BS that they think it is. The BS is their belief system. And so they bought into it, as you just alluded to, this fear. And people say fear. Well, what does fear stand for? Well, you know, you've been to different events, and Anthony Robbins says false evidence that appears real and everything like that, which is awesome. But for me, I love what Dr. James Dentley said. Fear is the acronym of feeling excited and ready. So when you're feeling excited and you're ready, right, then you're going to go conquer it. But then, you have the other kind of fear. And when I called up Napoleon Hill's foundation and asked Don Green for the right, I tell people you have to ask without fear. Right? So what if all these people said, no, they're going to reject me. They just said, something, you're a loser. You're not going to be, that's not,
you talk yourself out of it before you can get there.
Yes, exactly. And even the movie, there's 8 billion people on this planet. And my team and I are the ones that asked Napoleon Hill about making a movie. And everybody said, oh, someone must have made a movie. I mean, there's only 5 books that have ever sold 100 million copies. Obviously the Bible, and then you've got Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and The Hobbit, the Twilight Saga, which is this love story about vampires and werewolves that have all become amazing movies, theatrical releases, and only Think and Grow Rich until we made this movie, and someone else could have done it. But no one did, because they lived in this life of fear, that they thought, oh, well,
somebody must have already done it, so I'm not going to try.
Yeah.
And they lost the power of the ask.
Exactly. And if you just, if you have an idea and you have something conceptual that you want to do, act on it. Just do it. As Nike's got their slogan, just do it. And the word ACT, A-C-T, is an acronym, right? And so we've heard people say that you can have a thought, right? And then that thought will influence the way you feel. And the way you feel will then affect the way you act. So it's TFA, which is your thoughts affect the way you feel affects the way you act. So if ACT is an acronym, okay, and the acronym is A stands for appropriate action. So people say, oh, I want to lose 50 pounds or 30 pounds, I want to lose 10% body fat, great. But if you're eating fatty food and pizza and pasta and chocolate and sugar and sodas
for your result.
Bingo, right? So it has to be appropriate. So if you want to learn about real estate, well, then find a real estate mentor and have them do it. Why do I want to go and figure out which duplex, which location or fourplex or multi-unit that I want to buy when I can find someone like yourself who's had years and years of success in the real estate space? I'm going to say, Andy, could you help me out?
Of course.
I'd like to get in. I don't have a whole lot of money, but I do have this little bit. Can you share? So you got to take appropriate action. You got to read it. You got to study it. And then C means consistent. So you got to take consistent action. It's doing it over and over and over and over and over. And that repetition,
the reps,
right, will then become muscle memory. And all of a sudden it programs you, not just consciously, but subconsciously. It starts to happen over and over and over.
It's the same thing with going to the gym, which I talk about a lot. You can't read about push-ups. You can't read about abs, and you also cannot go to the gym and do 100 push-ups and be shredded.
Exactly.
It's the repetition.
Exactly. It's right. You say, no one's ever become the greatest golfer, reading it out of a book.
That's right.
You got to take a golf club, get some balls, get out to the driving range and hit 50,000 balls, bunch of blisters, you're sore, and then guess what? Then all of a sudden you get pretty good at what you do, right? So that's consistent. And then T stands for tenacious, right? You've got your tenacity of not giving up. And being persistent. No one ever becomes. The Great Wall of China, right, was not built overnight, right? It takes time and consistency and just persistent in going after it. And so I tell people that is one thing I've learned out of that book. The second part, which is an emotional, I still choke up when I talk about it, is, I grew up in Glendale, California, and, there was not a whole lot of Asians in the community. And I was the only Asian kid other than my sister. And children are pretty brutal.
Vicious.
And it was interesting how we played a game called kickball. And the downside of that game was that I was the only one in the middle running away from all these kids throwing the balls at me. And I thought it was funny because I was being very maneuverable, but I was like, well, wait a second, why am I the only one? They were having fun trying to beat me up with a ball, right? There was a game called, that was called dodgeball, by the way, right? And there was a game called kickball. And kickball is they roll the ball at you, you kick it.
I remember.
And there was always the 2 most popular kids would actually, be the captains. They'd line all the kids up against the wall or fence and pick.
That's right.
I want you. The other one goes, all right, who are you going to? Oh, you took him. I was going to take. I want you and I want you. And everybody got picked. I never got picked. And so I wanted to just let them know that I'm a pretty good kicker, And so when the ball got, out of, went foul, right, across the boundary line, I would run and I would kick the ball back to them to let them know that I was a good kicker.
Strong, right?
Right, and I still didn't get picked. And then my teacher, my 4th grade teacher, actually called my parents up and said, we need to have a meeting with you, about your son. And they sat with my mother and my dad and said that basically I had a learning disability. And they wanted to put me in these special classes and that I'm going to struggle through life and it's, that kind of stuff. And he doesn't get it. He processes things really slow. And so they put me in these special classes and I'm looking at all these other kids and I'm like, I don't think I belong here, but I guess this is, I don't know.
This is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, maybe I'm supposed to be here. And so I'm in these classes and finally my mom finds a tutor to start tutoring me, and the tutor comes back and says, Mr. and Mrs. Shin, there is nothing wrong with your son. I mean, the kid is really, really smart. It's just, the problem is that he doesn't speak English. He doesn't understand the vocabulary. So when the teacher's talking to him, he doesn't understand the words, so he can't process it.
And you shut down.
And I shut down, exactly, right? So do you speak English to your son or do you speak Korean to your son? And my parents said, well, we speak Korean. And so I had no one to learn English from, and so I couldn't process it. And so here, if I would have accepted what my 4th grade teacher told me, I may not be where I am today.
100%.
Right? But guess what? That story in the movie.
Goosebumps even hearing about that. I love it.
Napoleon Hill, in the book, Think and Grow Rich, the story of Thomas Edison, where he goes to school and he comes home one day with a little envelope with a little wax seal on it, and his mom walks in and says, Thomas, what are you doing home so early today? She says, my teacher gave me this note to give to you. And she sits down and she opens it and reads it, and it says, kind of in summary, that your son is not very bright. He's pretty stupid and lame, and you should keep him at home. We don't even want him here. In fact, just keep him and teach him yourself. You're a teacher, and don't send him to our school. And she read that inside, but out loud she read,
oh, that's right,
Thomas.
She changed it.
The teacher said, you are an amazing kid. You are so smart that there isn't even enough teachers, even in the school, that are smart enough to teach you. So I'm going to teach you because you're that amazing.
So powerful.
And then he turns out to become Thomas Edison today. And where would we be today if it wasn't for Thomas Edison and what he created? And so
a lot. We'd be in a very dark place.
Literally. Exactly.
Literally
right?
Be in a dark place.
Who knows? And
but that's the power of confidence that's instilled into kids.
That's right.
You can take it from them very quickly.
Absolutely.
And you can give it to them very quickly. It's a choice.
Yep.
And I had a very similar story, but I stuttered really bad. I didn't really get picked last. I was a super good athlete, but I was in all those classes that I wasn't supposed to be in or was supposed to be in. I got tutors, and they all said the same thing. He has a major learning disability. His dyslexia is severe. And it was. That was the truth.
Yep.
But how they labeled me is what broke me. That's what broke my confidence and spirit for school. So I shut down and became an incredible athlete and became really good at working and hustling and making my coaches happy.
Right.
But what that was doing, I was feeding this machine of a very young entrepreneur.
That's right.
That became very resilient based on that. So I had to unwind those stories of my teachers that crushed my soul and prove them wrong.
That's right.
The first thing was to do is I'm going to make more money than them, which I did when I was like 17 and a half. I was like, well, that didn't really fix my problem, still upset.
Right.
But it's those things that we have the power as kids. And sometimes we hold on to those, like you were talking about earlier.
Right.
You hold on to these belief systems that might not be true.
Right.
They might not be yours, but you've adopted your parents' fears. Like we talked about earlier. You came here and it's like, you got to go to school.
That's right.
You have to go to college so I can live through you. They don't say that, but that's how the actions speak.
Right.
And all those things that you are saying in that book are so powerful. And the mere fact that you want to go all in with your family, with your business, on to help people not feel like that speaks so much to your character.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. Yeah. Because, I tell people, they go, well, this is just the way I'm born. This is just the way I am. We grew up in this family, and this is the cards that were dealt to us. But they have that. I'm not here to preach to everybody, but I want everyone to know that, hey, you're wired for success, but you're programmed to fail.
It's a choice, yeah.
You know, and so you're wired for success because the man upstairs, you have his DNA.
That's right.
So you are wired for success, but you're programmed to fail because number one, what are you putting into these 6 inches here? You know, who are you, associating with every day? What books are you reading? You know, what are you watching? When you watch TV, and, I understand, oh gosh, it's going to sound like a political statement right now, and we can delete this part if we need to.
Oh no, we leave everything in. We leave it all in.
But, when we're talking about gun control today, everybody's about gun control and gun control. I think we need to address the issue of parental control, because the parents, have so much influence over their children.
Tons.
And yet, you hear this one parent who says, you stupid, you're so lame, you're like the dumbest thing I've ever, you're not even my child, there's no way. And we put this into a kid's head. And what are we putting in there? And what happens to their self-esteem and their self-confidence?
Just keeps dropping.
And then we turn around and say, oh, well, go do something, and then what do the kids do? They don't know what to do, so they go and they start playing these games. Well, when I was playing games, in the 70s and 80s, I played Space Invaders. I played a game called Donkey Kong, right? And Centipede and Asteroids. And the games that we see today are so violent. And here we are, our children are being entertained by violence, and that's what they're programming into their head. And no wonder they go out and they want to be, I had a little 8-year-old kid who told me that he knew what a 5.56 was, and the most powerful handgun is called a Desert AE, Desert Eagle 50 AE caliber with a velocity of this, and he believes in something called a special kind of rifle that has 5.56 and shoots and converts to a 2.23. And I said, where did you learn all this stuff? There's no way your school taught you all that stuff.
Yeah, and he's 8, so he's not like going to be like going to the military.
Exactly. And he goes, oh, I learned it on Call of Duty. And I'm thinking to myself, here's an 8-year-old that knows every piece of
round, ammunition.
Yeah, and I was just like wondering, what are we feeding into our kids' heads, And so, I tell parents, be so careful how you're programming your children, because there's verbal programming, and you tell kids like, well, money doesn't grow on trees, and money is the root of all evil.
No, it is not.
Right? And then they say things like, save your money for a rainy day.
Yeah.
Well, why do I have to save money for a rainy day? Why can't it be for a beautiful home? Why can't it be for an incredible wedding? Why can't it be for a vacation?
For whatever.
Right? Yeah, for whatever. It doesn't have to be for a rainy day.
But they put so much power into that statement. So
Exactly.
that it locks into the kid as, oh, that's important.
Yep.
Because they put so much emphasis on it.
Exactly. So, yeah, I just think it's so important how we form this mindset.
And it's the frame. I call it like, we set our children's frame. What we do with it is a painter.
That's right.
You can paint whatever narrative you want.
Right.
You can paint the darkest picture you want. But you control that frame to a certain age of your child.
Absolutely.
And that frame control is wildly powerful and needs to be held with the utmost responsibility. I just posted last night, and I got choked up, and I was on Instagram because I was so hurt.
Right.
I take my son to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for these exact reasons. I want him to have the confidence. I want him to walk anywhere in the world and be fine. Somebody tries to get him, he can arm bar him and get out and done.
Right.
But it's a longer play for me. It's so when he's a grown man, can protect his future family. Like there's so much that goes into this.
Right.
So with the holidays and traveling and going to Florida, like we talked about before, he missed 6 weeks. So, and he went every Monday and Wednesday.
Right.
It was like pulling teeth to get him there on Monday. He was crying. We had to pull him aside with like the professor. He didn't want to do it. He was one of the best in the class. But he lost his confidence because we were too busy. We were traveling. I put work in front of actually taking him at 4 o'clock for the first time ever.
Wow.
And those 6 weeks did a lot of damage. So yesterday when I was there, I was posting and I was getting choked up because my son was hurt and he was going through all this anxiety and loss of confidence because I didn't honor my commitment to him. I didn't honor that commitment that we made together, and he's now suffering. Wow. And like it's choking me up even talking about it because I felt his pain. And I'm talking to the professor there and he's just like, he missed, and so he lost all of his confidence.
Wow.
And all I heard was like, there was something that was more important to you that
Right.
you couldn't get them here. And I was like, that's not going to happen ever again.
Right.
And I declared it
Right.
to the world through Instagram.
Oh, that's incredible.
It broke my little heart because he's my
man.
world. You
Yeah.
know? My kids are my absolute world. And that's why I work so hard, is to lead by example.
That's right.
I don't want to be the dad that's like, save your money. We talk about investing in my family.
Right.
It's a very different conversation.
That's right.
Because
That's right.
I didn't grow up with that kind of verbiage. It was exactly like you just said. Save your money for a rainy day. You're not going to have much. Please go to college because you're not that bright. And then I find out I'm really bright.
Yes.
But I choose what I pour my energy into. And I'm sorry, but certain things that were taught in school, I have no desire to learn. And it's not going to be my downfall if I get an F in science.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So
exactly.
that's the way I think. And I'm so grateful to be here and having this conversation with you because I can feel your passion just sitting across from you about this.
Wow. Thank you.
It's infectious. And it's going to be so much fun for me to watch this journey and watch this movement grow.
Yes.
Because this book was written for a reason.
That's right.
You read it for a reason.
That's right.
You're writing your version for a reason. And you're representing 1.8 billion people of the planet. What an honor and what a
Yes.
responsibility that you decided to take on to change this planet. It's just, I'm just giving you all the kudos in the world.
Thank you.
Because most people, that's too big.
Oh,
That's too much.
wow.
What's it going to cost me? How
Right.
come they, like all these stories,
Right.
you pushed them all aside and you said, somebody probably already did this. Oh, but they didn't? Okay, cool. This is my shot. This is like Babe Ruth calling his shot at the World Series. You're like, well, if no one's done it,
Right.
why not me?
Right.
And give you another reason to stuff it in their face from earlier in your life.
Yes.
Because I use that stuff as fuel.
Right.
I'm like, I'm going to prove you wrong. Watch this. So I love what you're doing, John. I love who you surround yourself with.
Thank you.
And I'm really looking forward to watch this journey. And now I'm going to be a part of it, which is going to be super exciting.
Oh yeah, you're going to be a tremendous asset to our team, and we're really, really excited because people need your wisdom. I mean, what you know about the real estate world, people, why would you want to learn this? The fastest way to learn it is if you've got somebody like you, Andy, who has been on a minefield and you've got the footprints to help you avoid the mines to get to the other side. You know what? I am not that stupid. I'm just going to follow your footprints to get to the other side. I'm not going to go and reinvent my own footprints.
And I did the same thing. When I first got into real estate, I surrounded myself with people that had been through 3 and 4 crashes,
Right.
that had made tons of mistakes. I'm like, I'll work for you guys for free because I don't want to make your mistakes. And
Bingo.
it changed my world.
Exactly.
It's so important. Most people are afraid of real estate because they hear the ups and downs and the big crashes.
Yeah,
But if you know what to do, you can avoid it.
Exactly.
And then you look forward to the crashes.
Right, exactly.
Like we've talked about. So
exactly.
where can my whole audience find you, find your team, find the movement so we can really put some fuel behind this thing?
So right now we have our websites going up this week, and I believe the website is Think and Grow Rich, or TGR.
Okay.
Worldtour.com.
TGRworldtour.com. Okay.
TGRworldtour.com. Isn't that the website? I think it is, right? And we'll have the link up and running.
Okay.
And then there'll be some live events where we want to invite people to come down to. The live events are a one-day event just so that they can get a little flavor. Of course, we want you to be at some of our live events so that people can learn about real estate. For those that say, well, I don't know much about real estate, well then here's a place, you know what I mean? Better place. You're not going to learn this stuff in the real college world or the collegiate world, you know?
They don't teach it.
Yeah, they don't teach it, you know, and unfortunately. And so, and then from the live events, if what you hear makes sense, you know, we want you to come to a mastermind, and we want you to come down to my home and, you know, your home or whoever's home, and we want to sit around a table and really cut to the chase and figure out why you are where you're at. So we're going to really take a snapshot, an x-ray of that person.
Deep into it.
And then we're going to dive deep and figure out what is the root cause that's causing you to be where you're at, what's holding you back, what's stopping you, and then we're going to give you some tools to help you and catapult you to that level that you want to go. And we just want to, you know, people need, you know, when you see, there's something called CPR, you know, when someone's heart stops, you got to give them CPR. You know, you're getting mouth to mouth, chest compressions, and you're doing all these different things. Well, people need not just CPR. My version of CPR is called EPR, right? And EPR is everybody needs to be encouraged every day. people need to be praised every day. People need to
It's a huge part of how I'm wired.
right? To be recognized every day. So if you as a parent and you're trying to, get your child to be this awesome person, well, guess what? EPR them every day. Do you encourage them? Do you praise them? Do you recognize them every single day? No one has ever died because they were
From too much love and praise.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? We want to do that, and our event is not just going to be a big rah, don't you want to be somebody and all that kind of stuff, because you're past that. You now need the tools, and we want to teach you. You got a great business idea? Great. I may not be the person to show you, but I'm going to turn you on to somebody who is an expert in that area.
And can help you execute.
Exactly, right? And so it's a great place to meet the people that will get you to where you want to go. So we're really, really excited about it. And if someone says, I don't know if I can afford it, don't worry about the money. We'll work it out. You know what I mean? If it costs a little bit of money, we'll work out installments. We can help finance it. We'll do whatever. You can come and babysit my kids and watch my dogs. Whatever you got to do, we're going to make it work so that you have an opportunity.
It speaks to the value, too, that you really care about this so much, that you've literally put in these things so they can finance it.
Yes.
So there is no no.
Right.
It's you want to help, period, the end. I'm going to help you.
Right.
All right, John, so where can all these people find you on all the social media platforms?
So I am mainly on Instagram.
Okay.
And because if you go on Instagram, whatever you post, it'll show up on Facebook. But whatever you do on Facebook doesn't necessarily show up on Instagram.
Right.
So Instagram is I think the new modern day kind of.
That's where I spend most of my time.
Right. So I'm on Instagram. My Instagram handle is John Shin Official. Make sure you follow me and not some other John Shin.
Look for the one with the blue check mark. That's the official one.
Yeah, because there's a lot of knockoffs out there claiming they're me. And so, yeah. And by the way, for those of you that are watching, and please follow Andy as well. There's so much content on Andy. And so you think I'm providing value? You should see the stuff he's provided out there already, and has been doing this for a long time. So
thank you, John.
Yeah. What is your Instagram handle?
My Instagram handle is just my name. It's very simple across all boards everywhere. It's Andy Dane Carter, DANE, and it's really easy to find me. You can just drop me into Google and I'm all over.
So I used to be really big on Facebook, and on Twitter. Then my Twitter got hacked, and then I just said, I'm done with Twitter.
Me too.
And it's like MySpace, and then I went on Facebook, and I wasn't really big on Facebook because I do live a private life. Of
course.
It's everybody thinks that everybody wants to be a big celebrity, and that's not what I wanted to become. I don't need to be a Justin Bieber, and kudos to Justin and the Kardashians, and they've done amazing things with their branding and all that. I want the money, I want the lifestyle. But I want to be able to come home and be with my kids and be able to go to Corner Bakery and pick my nose and not be caught on TMZ, you know what I mean? And John Shin must be broke. He's digging for gold.
He's digging for gold at Starbucks.
Yeah, exactly, right? He's broke, I just didn't want that. And now I'm finally coming out of my comfort zone myself to be in the public eye, doing these podcasts, because I really, I want to just grab that young adult, the aging senior, whoever they are. It's never too late. I don't care, how age is just a number. It doesn't matter. Colonel Sanders started Kentucky Fried Chicken at 65 years of age. He didn't go, I'm 60, I'm good. You know what I mean?
And he had $100 and was going to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Its story's fascinating.
It's amazing, right? Don't use age as an excuse. Don't use your children as an excuse why you don't do it. You use your children as a reason to do the things.
Why.
That's your why.
My
right. Yeah.
Why
what is more precious to us, you and I, than our children? Right. It's just like, God, every time I even say things like that, I just go, oh my God, I get, not that I'm trying to be all wimpy here, but yeah, you get a little choked up.
The truth.
Your eyes kind of water because, man, what do we do? What do we,
why are we here?
It's our kids. It's our family, first and foremost.
I agree.
And so we want to go out there and really share the content you have, I have, what our circle of friends have, to provide value to everybody and help you become successful. Because if you look at the word, you don't want to have a boss. Your boss should be success. And if you look at the word success, the letter U is the most important letter in that word success. Without you in the word success, there is no success. You are the most important ingredient in the word success. And if you take you out, those two C's in the word success, they stand for chump change, Okay, that's all you're ever make. You're gonna make a bunch of chump change, but the 3 S's that are on there, that's where you're gonna make the dollar signs.
That's right.
Right, but we got to put you back into success. You got to make sure that you're applying yourself every day, and don't be involved in too many things. People always get caught up in, you know, I look at Jennifer Lopez, and Jennifer's got a restaurant, she's got a nightclub, she's got a clothing line and makeup line and hair line and all. Well, that's not how J-Lo started.
No.
J-Lo started with one thing.
Dancing.
Right? Made all her money in that. And then after she had all her money, she was able to diversify.
And build teams around
Exactly.
it,
You know what I mean? But let me just tell you something. Don't go and say, well, I'm going to be a notary. I'm going to go into real estate. I'm going to do mortgages. And I'm also doing some part-time, you know, branding things. And I'm going to be an influencer. And, oh, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to become a mechanic because I like fixing my car. Stop. Right? You know, you hone in on one thing and you master that thing, and then you master that craft, and then once you start making some money, right? Don't take all that money and go blow it and go buy all this fancy clothes and watches, and don't be silly with your money, guys. You know, save that money, you know, and invest that money wisely. I'm telling you, you know, what is so cool about being broke? Absolutely nothing. And I know what it feels like to be broke because, you know, we both know, right? I mean, I'm telling you guys, I've been so broke. I couldn't even pay attention. So, so you know, stay focused. And gosh, I'm grateful. I'm really fired up about our tour.
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
And I'm extremely grateful. And that's a big piece of what I do every morning is I try to stay in gratitude because it keeps me in that soft space where I can go as fast as I need to.
That's right.
And gratitude is so important. And in closing, I love what you said about the you in success. So for everybody out there, you are the you in success. Success needs to be your boss. And you need to come find us somewhere in the world and somewhere in the country and here. There's so much more to this, so much more. We're going to dive deeper. It's been such an honor, John. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
And this is just the beginning. Stay tuned, everybody. Thank you again for having us.
We're going to actually have you autograph this. A little, I don't know, a little something that you want to share, a little slogan or something.
That would be awesome.
And then what we'll do is we're going to get your picture, and then we're going to get that book, and we're going to make it into a frame.
Oh, cool.
So when people come by,
they'll see who was here.
They're going to go, who was here? They're like, what? Like, I should get one of those books, you know? And
perfect.
So it's going to be kind of cool. So
That would be great. Voila. I've talked to a lot of people that have read a lot of books. Most of them have these stories are like, it's like birthing a child from what they've heard. Like and I was thinking like, it can't be that hard.
Yeah.
And so the first version, we had all these issues with the publisher and everything else and all this drama. We had to rename the book. We had to change the color scheme of it.
Wow.
And I'm a really bad writer. Like I was kind of sharing with you, I think it was 7 or 8 days. I just paced my office and got the whole book out. That was the rough draft.
Right.
So we could go faster because we had so many problems in the beginning.
Oh, got it.
So it's been a really cool experience for me because now I can bang out books in a couple weeks and then go to the print. So I've got these things and these ideas that are in me, and now we can produce them as a company for our clients really fast. That's awesome. Yeah.
The secret on the
That's
outside.
gonna be the way to get in
there.
there.
So you have to open that to come into the secret room.
Be...
So this helmet right here is the first helmet of Star Wars 1 where they made this helmet.
It's hand painted.
Yeah, it's all, it's hand done, all hand painted, like all these, it's not a sticker. And so the guy who created this actually gave it to me as a gift. And it's a real working helmet. So you can actually pop it out like this, okay? And to put this on, you don't put it on this way, we're gonna put it on this way, and then you're gonna turn it, and you'll see what I'm talking about, okay?
Oh, no
so
way.
here you go, ready?
Yeah.
There we go.
You're good. You can
You're
keep
good?
pushing.
Okay, there we go. And then we're gonna turn it. There we go, like that.
Oh wow. That is crazy.
Isn't that
You
crazy?
sound like a stormtrooper.
Right.
Oh, it's trying to do like a facial recognition and it can't because I have the helmet on. So when you come to John Shin's house, you go into his screening room and you put on the helmet. Thank you so much, John. You are the man.
Sir.